Good morning, dear RPITNs. Hope you are in very good health. This is Dr. Jyotsna, physiotherapist and assistant professor in RPIT College. Today I have come with a new topic and that is very common, which is ankle sprain. So what is ankle sprain? It is where one or more of the ligaments of the ankle are partially or completely torn. It is a very common injury. Inversion is the most common type of ankle sprain. In this, lateral ligament injuries represent approximately 85% of all ankle sprains. Incidence is very highest in the sports population, and poor rehabilitation after initial sprain increases the chances of this injury reoccurrence. The ankle joint is the body part that is second most likely to be injured in sports. Severe ankle sprains occur commonly in basketball players. Reoccurrence rates amongst basketball players is reported to be greater than 70%. Athletes with chronic ankle instability, mispractices, and competition require ongoing care in order to remain physically active and display suboptimal performance. So, before going further, we need to understand the anatomy which is relevant to this ankle sprain. So, of the lateral ankle ligament complex, the most frequently damaged one is the anterior talofibular ligament, that is ATFL. The anatomical location and mechanism of sprain injury mean that the calcaneofibular and posterior talofibular ligaments are less likely to sustain damaging loads. On the medial side, the strong deltoid ligament complex, posterior tibiotalar, tibiocalcanean, tibionavicular, and anterior tibiotalar ligaments, is injured with forceful pronation and rotation movements of the hind foot. Stabilizing ligaments of the distal tibiofibular syndesmosis are the anterior inferior, posterior inferior, and transverse tibiofibular ligaments, the interosseous membrane and ligament, and the inferior transverse ligaments. A syndesmotic high ankle sprain occurs with combined external rotation of the leg and the dorsiflexion of the ankle. There are some risk factors which are predisposing to this ankle injury. Several intrinsic and extrinsic risk factors predispose an athlete to chronic ankle instability. Most common is previous history of ankle sprain. A previous sprain may compromise the strength and integrity of the stabilizers and interrupt sensory nerve fibers. 6. Height, weight, limb dominance, postural sway, and foot anatomy are intrinsic. And extrinsic factors include taping, bracing, shoe type, competition duration, and intensity of activity. In this, most common is the mechanism of injury, that how a injury occurs actually. Lateral ankle sprain usually occurs during a rapid shift of body center of mass over the landing or weight-bearing foot, as shown in this figure. The ankle rolls outward while the foot turns inward, causing the lateral ligament to stretch and tear. When a ligament tears or is overstretched, its previous elasticity and resilience rarely returns. Some researchers have described situations where return to play is allowed too early, compromising sufficient ligamentous repair. Reports have also proposed that the greater the level of plantar flexion, the higher the likelihood of sprain. A less common mechanism of injury involves forceful eversion movement at the ankle, injuring the strong deltoid ligament. Ankle sprain is classified into either low ankle sprain or high ankle sprain. The low ankle sprain is further classified into lateral ankle sprain, which is a classical sprain 80 to 85%, and the medial ankle sprain only 5 to 10%. So lateral ankle sprain, the most common mechanism is inversion of plantar flexed foot as shown in the figure. The anterior talofibular ligament is the first or the only ligament to be injured in majority of ankle sprains. Stronger forces lead to combined ruptures of the anterior talofibular ligament and calcaneofibular ligament. In medial ankle sprain, medial deltoid ligament complex, which is however a strongest of the ankle ligament and infrequently injured. So forced eversion of the ankle can cause damage to the structure but more commonly results in avulsion fracture of the medial malleolus because of the strength of the deltoid ligament. Next is the high ankle sprain. Dorsiflexion or eversion of the ankle may cause sprain of the syndesmotic structures. There generally tends to be less swelling with the high ankle sprain. However, there tends to be pain that is more severe and longer lasting. Syndesmotic ligament injuries contribute to chronic ankle instability and are more likely to result in recurrent ankle sprain and the formation of heterotopic ossification. Next is the grading and the symptoms. We can divide The symptoms according to the grades: grade 1 sprain, grade 2 sprain, and grade 3 sprain. In grade 1, from mild stretching of a ligament with microscopic tears, patient have mild swelling and tenderness, no joint instability on examination, and patient is able to bear weight with ambulate with minimal pain. In grade 2, more severe injury involving an incomplete tear of a ligament, patients have moderate pain, swelling, tenderness, and ecchymosis. There is mild to moderate joint instability on examination with some restriction of range of motion and loss of function. Weight bearing and ambulation are painful. In grade 3, it involves a complete tear of a ligament. Patient have severe pain, swelling, tenderness, and ecchymosis, significant mechanical instability on examination, and significant loss of function and motion. Patients are not able to bear weight or ambulate. And most important in this ankle sprain for the diagnosis is the physical examination. So swelling, ecchymosis, tenderness over affected side, which is proportional to the likelihood of fracture. Palpation should include bony landmarks such as lateral malleolus, the medial malleolus, the fibula, the fifth metatarsal, and the fasces in the skeletally immature patients. Achilles tendon, peroneal tendons, posterior tibial tendon should also be palpated, and tenderness over the anterior joint line or syndesmosis may indicate a sprain of the interosseous membrane. Recurrent sprains often have very little swelling. An individual with an ankle sprain can almost always walk on the foot carefully with pain. Grade 3 ankle sprains often include an audible snap followed by pain and swelling. A careful neurologic examination is essential to rule out loss of sensation or motor weakness, as peroneal nerve and tibial nerve injuries are sometimes seen with severe lateral ankle sprains. Some special tests which are required for the confirmation of diagnosis. First is the anterior draw test. It is done to test the ligamentous laxity or instability in the ankle. It assesses the strength of the anterior talofibular ligament. Next is the talar tilt test. It detects the excessive ankle inversion. If the ligamentous tear extends posteriorly into the calcaneofibular portion of the lateral ligament, the lateral ankle is unstable and talar tilt occurs. It is done how it is shown in the figure. Next is the external rotation stress test. It helps in identifying a tibiofibular syndesmotic injury, which is high ankle sprain injury. Next is the Squeeze-Hopkins test. It helps in identifying inferior tibiofibular syndesmotic injury, consisting of compression of the fibula against the tibia at the mid-calf level, producing pain in the syndesmosis. Next is the imaging. The Ottawa ankle rules are a set of guidelines for clinicians to help decide if a patient with foot or ankle pain should be offered x-rays to diagnose a possible bone fracture. MRI, CT scans, bone scans, and arthrograms all have a diagnostic utility for specific injuries like fractures, eversions, talar dome fracture, but have little role in the initial evaluation of the ankle sprains. Some rules are as follows. An ankle series indicated for patients who have pain in the malleolar zone and have bone tenderness at the posterior edge or tip of the lateral or medial malleolus and are unable to bear weight both immediately after the injury and for 4 steps in the emergency department doctor's office. A foot series is only indicated for patients who have pain in the midfoot zone and have bone tenderness at the base of the fifth metatarsal or at the navicular, or are unable to bear weight both immediately after the injury and for 4 steps in the emergency department or doctor's office. Weight bearing, AP, lateral mortise radiographs of the injured ankle to rule out fracture of. If a high ankle sprain is suspected, the radiograph should include the upper leg to assess for bony injury or gross dysosmotic disruption. Stress views are performed by applying external rotation and lateral displacement stresses if a high ankle sprain is suspected, and they should be compared to the contralateral in an injured ankle since there is a variability in soft tissue laxity between patients. Some abnormal findings include decreased tibiofibular overlap. It is normal if it is more than 6 mm on AP view and more than 1 mm on the mortise view. Increased medial clear space. It is normal less than or equal to 4 mm. Increased tibiofibular clear space. It is normal if it is less than 6 mm on both AP and mortise views. So in the next lecture, we'll study about the rehabilitation of ankle sprain. Thank you so much, students. Hope you will understand this topic and go through this lecture. Thank you. Have a great day. Stay home. Stay safe. Thank you so much.